Hello, 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 everyone. We are back yet again, week 4 of the Intentional Living Virtual Tea. And as you know, and if you've been tuned in, you already know that this is a situation. It's not just a one-time event or experience, but the virtual tea is going throughout the month of May, right? Once a week, we're doing a virtual tea, a virtual live like you're viewing right now. And this is all an appetizer leading up to the actual high tea that's occurring on June 1st. That's Saturday in about just under 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks. So if you don't have your ticket, make sure you grab it. I'll be posting the link for you to have access to that. And then, as I just stated, we're just giving you a little appetizer, right? We're getting you ready. We're giving you a little sip of the tea before we pour it all into you on Saturday, June 1st. So for those of you who are just now attending or viewing and don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Jatan Dorsey, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, life and business coach, founder of the Commend Her Network, and corporate chick. That's a lot. And there's so much more I didn't tell you. So we're just going to leave it right there because I don't want you to get overwhelmed by all the many things and the happenings that I have going on. But with all that being said, we are going to give you all a moment to join. So if you are joining, say hello, give us a heart love, thumbs up, all that good stuff, everything except for the mad face. And let us know that you are out there so we can make sure that we properly greet you and welcome you into the room. Meanwhile, I am going to be sharing this out, so make sure that you share it as well. I would never ask you to do something that I wouldn't do. So as I share, you share, say hello as you join, and we will get started here in just a moment. And I will introduce our awesome guest for week 4. So if you haven't tuned in the previous weeks, make sure you go back and catch the replay. And we have one more week. So next Wednesday, we'll be doing the same thing once more, just before we go into the actual event on June 1st. So who's out there? I see some folks have joined us. Say hello, give us heart, love, thumbs up. If it's not your first time, you know what I'm doing. Got to share the love with the people. We'll give it a moment here. Of course, I have to make sure that I'm not sharing this in the wrong places when I'm doing this on my phone and I'm moving too quickly. So we want to be careful about that thing. And I believe I have one more place to share this. You know, it would be nice if I had music, but I don't like to play with Facebook like that because I don't need them cutting my videos off. I don't have time to be posting. I don't own the rights to this music and all that. So y'all just bear with us. As soon as I get this last one posted, we will be good to go. Okay. Now that I've done that, again, as a reminder, if you're joining us for the first time, make sure you give us some heart, love, thumbs up, say hello, leave a comment, as we are about to proceed to give you what you need for today. So again, I'm Dr. Jatan Dorsey. Today I have Jamila Thomas with me, and I want to introduce her in just a moment, but I have to do a little housekeeping. As you know, make sure that you follow me at DRJATUN on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, so you can get all the dibs on all the goodness that's revolving around this high tea, intentional living, and all that good stuff that's combined together. It just gives you a combustion of love and inspiration and empowerment. So with that being said, I want to also give a shout out to all the vendors and the sponsors that have so graciously contributed and donated and will be at the event. And those include Curls, Mary Kay, Arm Candy, Delicious Scrubs, True Beauty Boutique, Young Living Lifestyle, My Dearest Boutique, and then also RLB Consulting. So thank you all. Looking forward to seeing you at the event for those who will be there. And then also, the theme this year is arrival. As we know, each year there's a different theme. We got to give a little different flair to it. So the arrival is the topic. And of course, that's what we'll be talking about today. Each week we've put a little twist on what that really means, right? We've talked about it in different ways and different aspects. So just look forward to how we'll add a little twist today. So today we'll be talking about the arrival. And again, I have Jamila Thomas here with me. Let me tell you a few things about her, because I was telling her before we joined, I was like, girl, all these things you done in the community for the gods and everything else. We're gonna cut this short, but I hate to do that because it's such amazing things. But you can also find out more about her by following her, and later as we talk to her, she'll give you the information about how to find her on social media and any other avenues. So Jamila Thomas, she's a motivational speaker, author, and entrepreneur. She has both an undergraduate and a master's degree in business administration. She also has a master's of arts degree in divinity. And she is well traveled. She's done so many different speaking engagements and such at various countries. She's also the nonprofit founder, the organization Women Divine, which she established in Chicago, Illinois, and now it is serving in Dallas, Texas. And here in Texas, she is using that organization to serve young women who are currently residing in juvenile detention centers in Dallas, Texas. That's huge. She's also active and employed with the Dallas ISD, where she is serving as the coordinator for DISD African American Success Initiatives, and has been for approximately 2 years. And with that, I'm going to jump right into Jamila and allow you an opportunity to add anything else you'd love to add, or you want the folks to know before we start chatting.
Sure. Yeah. So so just a bit of annotation. So I served in that role a couple years ago now. So now I serve as a director looking at various things, I'll say, in the food and nutrition department in Dallas ISD. So my heart and passion obviously is to serve children who need as much support as necessary, as we all do. So a lot of my work is around youth empowerment, and with a focused intention on not only leadership development, but professional development as well. Because I think a lot of times we focus so much on that later on in life. But imagine if you were 15, 16 years old with a full toolbox of how to interact with the professional world, how far you could be when you reach the age of 20, 25. So.
Wow, right. If a lot of us had that help early on, how farther we could be. Or since we're talking about the arrival, how much sooner we could have arrived at the places that we are currently in life. And then speaking of that, as we just kind of coast right into the conversation, when you think of the word arrival, what is it that comes to mind? What is it that intrigues or triggers your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think about the word arrival. I think about having gotten to a precipice point where you are opening up a new door. Because typically, let's say if you take a trip somewhere, you jump in the car, jump in the train, jump in the whatever you're going into, and you're waiting. There's a waiting period before you actually arrive to that destination. And as you are arriving, or once you have arrived, normally you have to open up some type of door. And so when I think of arriving, you're standing at the door to the next promise that you're heading into. So that's like as we talk about it, that's what came to mind, is that you're at the beginning of something.
And so as we talk through, and I kind of just highlighted a lot of it, the many things that you've explored, experienced, or even are, building in your life currently, what would you say as far as your journey to your current state? How was that for you? What was hard about it? What was the challenge, and how did you overcome it? Like, what was the big thing that stood out to you as the challenge or the possible barrier?
Yeah, I think that as I have transitioned to different points in my life professionally, I always look back on it and say, wow, that's what that was for, And so even as I experience challenges now in my professional career, I try to focus on, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to gain? What am I experiencing right now that is in preparation for, right,
Mm,
the arrival of such things? So, I think what has helped me to get beyond those things is, one, sort of just getting silent, just stopping for a second. Because I think a lot of us, me included, we move, set goals, do to-do lists, mark those things off, and we're on to the next thing. And sometimes I think it's important just to take a step back and reflect. And I haven't journaled in a long time, and I really need to do that more often. I used to do it when I was a little girl, up into my teenage years, and just recently in my professional life, or as I've gotten older.
mhm.
But when I look back on those times, I think about how every single moment in time has prepared me for this moment that I'm in now. And I've used this analogy before, and I've heard other people use it too. But when I think about what's considered to be stumbling blocks, or things that come before us that look like barriers, typically what we want to do is just move them out of the way. Just move it over here, move this barrier out of the way, move this block out of the way. And I'm learning how to stack those blocks on top of each other. And
Mm,
so once I begin to stack them up on top of each other, they look like stairs.
yeah.
And the hope is that I can begin to take those stairs up to higher heights, instead of looking at it like, oh, this is in my way, this is in my way, but rather, no, I need that one foundational block to help build up on the next block and the next block. And
Yeah.
right now, I'm definitely in a point in my life where I'm experiencing some things right now where I'm like, okay, there's some foundational blocks that I'm gaining. And if I can just be intentional about being in tune with that instead of being frustrated or angry or mad, then it puts things in perspective. And that's hard to do. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
hypocritical. It's hard to do. I'm just saying, as I reflect on the question, I'm trying to do that even in the moment. Like, how do I take those things that I'm gaining from what I consider to be stumbling blocks or burdens or issues, and just really learn from it and stack them up.
Mm. That's good, because if you don't look at them as the stepping blocks, you look at them as the stumbling blocks.
Right.
Many
And
of
you're
us,
falling all over the place.
right, right. And then it could be those, in those instances, or it could be a time in your life, or some people just have the habit, or I'll say the bad habit
Yeah.
of getting deterred just because they stumbled or because they failed.
You're tripping, no pun intended, or maybe I should say pun
Right,
intended, just tripping. And so I'm trying not to be out here in these streets tripping. I'm trying to
right, right.
utilize those very key things I'm supposed to gain. And I think for me, I have to look at it from a spiritual perspective. And I'm nobody's perfect. I'm surely not perfect, but that's the only way that helps me to kind of get some perspective about what I'm experiencing,
Mhm.
and what I have experienced in the past. That it's all a part of a larger process that I clearly cannot even ascertain, because God is doing something that it's in His hands. So
Right. So when it comes to allowing God to do his work, oftentimes we can get in the way thinking that
yeah,
we have the better plan, or that we're
yeah,
supposed to do this or that. It could either cause you to do too much and block the blessing, or it could cause
yeah,
you to sit back and not do enough. So
yeah,
what do you say? I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that as well. Now we're talking about different experiences, and even saying, hey, it's me too. I've been there. It's not
yeah.
just us pointing fingers saying that, this is only you. So how have you overcame such instances where you may be battling with that discernment, knowing which way to go and what to do or
Yeah,
what
yeah, no, I'm be transparent. I'm battling with that right now,
not?
Uh, and I guess when I say battling, I recognize, what my prayer has been just recently. I wrote it down. I said that, my prayer was for God to, I know that there's spiritual warfare, and so that God would just relinquish me from wanting to have the perception that I'm actually fighting in the battle, the spiritual warfare. Like, I'm not the one battling, it's God battling. But
Wow.
as humans, we in this thing.
Mhm.
And really, there are so many things that God is doing behind the scenes. I like to use this analogy. You know how you go to a play and it's like a beautiful play, and then the curtains close for intermission, and everything goes dark for maybe like a moment, and
Yes.
then you hear all this movement in the background, but you can't see it. You just know that some movement is going on, and then when intermission's over, they open up the curtain again, and it's this brand new stage. And
Yes.
so for me, that's how I sort of interpret what God is doing in my life when I feel like I'm like, what is going on? I'm in intermission and the curtains are closed and he's moving some things around in the background that I'm just not privy to right now, you
Mm.
know. And then when that curtain opens back up, it's going to be a brand new stage, a
Mm.
brand new set, right? And so that's that's my prayer. Like, that's what's happening, you know. So that's kind of how I interpret, you know, how to ascertain where God is and where God may not be, and trying not to get in the way. Like I'm not behind the curtain; I'm in front of the curtain, waiting on the curtain to reopen.
Wow.
So it don't look like getting on the stage, trying to go behind the screen, like, what's going on back here? You know, and they're like, "Ma'am, you are not supposed to be back here. This is
Right.
not the place."
Just wait.
You know? Yeah, get off the stage. You know, and so I'm like, "Okay, God, all right, let me get on off this stage and allow you, not allow you, but just be open to what God is doing behind the curtain."
Mm.
And I'm literally going through that right now. Like, I don't know what's going on behind the curtain, but I know that something's going on behind the curtain. And when it reopens, I'm going to be able to walk on that stage. And it's going to be a seat for me. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Behind the curtain. Look, that should have been the theme instead of arrival. I'm just saying. I
I
mean,
know. I'm like, can somebody please tell me what's behind this curtain? Because look, there's a whole situation going on out in this audience that, you know, I'm like, so
yeah.
yeah.
I think we got some time to change the theme before June 7th. No, I'm just playing. But no, that was really good because we do get so anxious, right? And
Yeah.
also we get controlling because we think that we can control everything. And as
Yeah.
soon as that thing comes about in life that we feel like we lost control, we're like, wait, hold up, let me get behind this curtain and see what I need to do
Right.
to make it right.
Sit down. Sit down. Okay.
Several seats.
Right. But okay, in the back, because you're doing too much. Okay. You encoring and all that. It's not even time for the encore yet, you know? So
Yes,
yeah.
that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you mentioned something before we actually went live, and I was thinking, let me bring that up because I think it was awesome. You
Okay.
mentioned we were kind of, for those of you who are tuned in, we were just talking about the need to make sure that we're taking time to enjoy life because life is short, and the many things that we are dealing with day to day are just in the moment, but we tend to get consumed by them and therefore forget to have fun, forget to enjoy life and love and our family. And you mentioned that there were 4 things that were the priority for you and your family.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw me jotting. I like to make sure I'm catching all the tea.
I was like, what's she writing over there? What is that?
So I caught that tea. And it was
Okay.
family, faith, love, and legacy, which I have to say is very ironic because my husband and I do a podcast called Day with the Dorseys.
Okay.
And you pretty much touched on 5 of our pillars that are 4 of the 5 pillars that we discussed. So
Yeah.
I wanted you to kind of share how you arrived at that point in life to decide and determine that these are the 4 things that's important to me and my family, and this is how we're going to move forward.
Yeah. I think just a myriad of things that has happened in our lives, my husband and my life, along with our children. And I have to admit that I just recently verbalized it a couple weeks ago like that, like faith, family, love, and legacy. I literally just verbalized it. I think that we have tried to live that way, and we may have talked about it, and but I think just recently have I been more trying to be more committed to that, because I think that everything else falls underneath that, careers and books you want to write and businesses you want to start and going back to school and all these dreams and visions that I do believe that God gives you. At the same time, we have to be careful not to idolize that which God has given us. And I think sometimes the idolization comes in the form of dreams, right? Where we're so focused on that dream, and God's like, no, 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 focus on me. I'm the one that gave you the dream, right? And let me help you craft it. And so just recently, I'm like, you know what? And I was talking to my girlfriends actually. I was like, what we need to focus on is faith, family, love, and legacy. And I was thinking about my children. I was thinking about my husband. I was thinking about just faith, having faith, and even when your faith wavers, and your family encompasses a lot of different people. It's not just blood family. It's some women that you may call sisters that you're close to, or brothers that you men that you consider to be brothers or what have you. And so I just realized that those are the 4 things that really matter. All this other stuff, all these titles and what you're trying to get to and who you're trying to become, and It really is insignificant. Like when it's time for you to leave this place, what's going to cross your mind? And I think for me, what will cross my mind is my faith, my prayer that my faith is intact, my
Mm,
family, which is, my extended family, my close friends, my immediate family, the love that I have been able to exhibit towards the world and towards people and my family, and then again, family. The family that will be surrounding me. So all those four things are critical. All this other stuff, it's just really insignificant. I mean,
yeah.
it really is in the larger scheme of things. When people on their deathbed, they're not trying to figure out what's your title, baby. What's your title
Mm,
again? Oh, I'm CEO of so and so, baby. Don't nobody care about that. Sign these papers so
right.
we get blood. Like like nobody's thinking about none of that.
Mm,
And so I'm just trying to, even though it's hard. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not even saying that I do this every day. I'm just trying to strive towards those four things: faith, family, love, and legacy. Leaving a legacy behind that when I leave here, that people will look back on what I've been able to accomplish, not necessarily like the titles, but accomplish meaning what I've been able to pour into people.
mm,
I can leave here, but when I say legacy, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, I mean, if I have a Fortune 500 company, great, that's great. But I'm talking about the impact that my life has had on other people, that
yeah.
I have planted seeds, that those seeds have now are blossoming in other people, and the prayers that they can then plant seeds, and then they plant seeds, and it continues on.
Right.
So,
And even planting seeds for your children so that they
yeah,
do that on too.
absolutely. Now let's not get it twisted. What I'm saying is it is critical to leave a legacy of because you got to have life insurance and all that. You want to have a Fortune 500 business if you can. I'm not saying
Right,
that's
right.
not
Yeah.
clear about that, because that's also a part of your legacy. I guess is in a larger scheme of things, that as life begins to pass us by, and to your point, the original question was around making sure that we keep those things in perspective. Like taking time to spend with your family, shutting things down. I know husband gets on me about this. You need to shut it down. I'm like, I know. And he's not even talking about being on my phone or computer. He's talking about my brain.
Yes.
Like, shut your brain down. And sometimes that's difficult because you just want to keep going, and it's like, what for? Like, shut
Mm-hmm.
your brain down. So
Yeah. Something my husband always tells me is he'd rather have to tell me whoa than giddy up. So,
mm,
so
yeah,
although it's good to be ambitious and to have those things going, many things going on.
yeah,
Sometimes he still has to tell me whoa because
right,
I'm going so much, right? And that's important
yeah,
because if we don't take care of ourselves first, then how can we have the faith, the family, the love, or the legacy?
yeah. It's true. It's
But
true.
I like the way that you said you thought of this because you were brainstorming and thinking through what that means when you are on your deathbed.
I'm
Like
sorry. My husband is behind this screen, so excuse me.
I see you
You see my
looking,
smile?
but I know
I'm
how it
sorry.
goes. I just
You
play
know
it.
what?
I went through with it because mine does the same thing.
Okay. So I'm sorry if I veered off for a second,
Look,
but go ahead.
Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas, we are recording live.
Right, we are live.
But no, I was just saying that I like how you explain how you came to the conclusion of these four pillars, right? When you said, "What would I be thinking about on my deathbed?" Is he still bothering you?
Yes, I'm good. Go ahead. You good.
What would you be thinking about on your deathbed, right? That's what's important because we go through life and things are just happening so fast. As they say, life happens, and we
Right.
tend to forget about what is truly important. So I love the way that you encouraged us to
Okay.
think about being on your deathbed, even though nobody wants to think
I
about
know
this.
nobody. I know. I
Right,
know.
it's gonna happen though, right? Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna get out of here alive, as they say.
Yeah. I
So,
know it's true. Yeah.
right. So just thinking about those things that are important at that point, but having the chance to have the forethought to think of it now while you
Right.
have an opportunity to do everything right leading up to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We don't know. We don't know when our assignment is up here. You just don't know. And I have had experiences in my life where I've had seasoned people leave, like people who've been here for a while, and I've also experienced young children that I've known, that were 6 and 7 years old. A friend of mine, I won't mention the name, but a friend of mine, her life and her son's life touched me dearly. He passed away suddenly. He was my son's friend. He passed away suddenly, and that put a lot of things in perspective for me. That we just I don't want to say take for granted, because I don't think we're intentionally taking life for granted. I just think that we have a tendency to lose sight of what's really important in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is like those four things that we're talking about, faith, family, love, and legacy. And with all this other stuff can cloud our judgment. It can cloud our relationships.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that certain relationships will end in due season at certain times, but there is a pruning process too to all of this. Some people, some things, some experiences you will go through, and they will help to prune and sharpen, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So another thing you mentioned earlier was journaling, and that you
I
you mentioned that you used to do it, and that I'm the same way.
Okay.
It could be sporadic days that I'm like, let me just journal. But I
Yeah.
found it interesting that how therapeutic it can be when you go back and read through the things.
Breathe.
Yes. And what's very interesting is one thing that I didn't mention in my opening is that I'm a professor as well. So one
Yeah.
thing that I have them to do at the end of the day, and these are full grown adults, I'm
Sure.
like, journal at the end of the day so we can really think about what it is that you absorbed and observed during the class. And that way later, when you get beyond this class, you'll still be able to go back and, relive that moment and remind yourself of that thing. But I
Yeah.
think some people really, I'll say my students, sometimes they give me a lot of pushback on that. They don't really want to journal. They like, Dr. Dorothy,
Yeah.
do you journal? Like, why are we
Right.
doing this? Until you actually see the benefit. So
Right.
for you, what was the benefit, and how did you see that helping at the time that you were consistently doing it, as far as arriving at your point in life? And how do
Yeah.
you see that, if you start to incorporate that again, how could it assist?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's important to journal because it's when you look back on what you were experiencing during those times, good, bad, or indifferent. It has to be bad things, just the things that you were writing about during that time. I think you'll find that the prayers that you had were answered.
Mm.
And that's what. And so recently, just recently, literally probably like maybe 4 months ago, I wrote down a prayer. And it was during a time where I just was really struck. I had lost how you lose words where you just don't have nothing else to say. And you just, I was like, I'm speechless. And so let me just write. I'm like, I think my prayer started off with, help me, Lord. Like,
Mm.
and I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And at the end of it, this was funny. I wrote, Lord, please move me or move me out the way. And what's funny is that 4 or 5 days later, that circumstance, I was gone. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't
Ooh.
like this. Like, but my point is, when I look back on that journaling time, literally the time that I'm writing, it feels good to release things. There's also a really good exercise in reflective time to go back and really see how far you have come, even in your writing, like what you're writing and what you're saying. I think also is good for the purposes of sharing with people who may be experiencing some of the same things that you've already gone through. You can go back and show them proof, like proof that the
Mm.
prayers were answered, or proof that, hey, listen, I've gone through this and you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
I think the journaling plays a number of roles that include sharing with other people. And my mom, she was a journalist. She has tons of journals, books, and stuff. I remember one time I was a little girl, maybe I was like in high school. I went to go pull one of her journals. She said, "Baby, put that back. You don't need to be reading what's in there." It's funny because there are some personal things that you will need to write down
Absolutely.
off your spirit and your mind, and nobody else needs to know. Nobody else
Mhm.
needs to know. It's because it's between you, God, and just getting those things out that perhaps you're not ready to share with other people yet.
Right. Yeah.
I just think it serves a number of purposes that are helpful, which is why I'm trying to do it more. Like I haven't written a journal probably like a last for probably 5 or 6 days now, and I really need to go back and just write. And I hate sometimes when I say I'm going to journal, and I write down a date, think I'm all good. I wrote down, May 14th, and okay, May 15th, and then it's next, it's December 12th. I'm like, dang, I was all that time, write down some things that were critical, So I need to make a commitment to do that more often because I think it's a good reflection process and
Absolutely.
things out, that perhaps you're just not ready to verbalize yet, So
I love how you said move me or move me out of the way.
Yeah.
That's good.
And God's prayer was answered. I was like, Lord, I know you're gonna do it that quick. I was kidding. I mean, I wanted that, but I wasn't sure,
Right.
But now that I look back on it, I'm still processing, what that prayer meant and how critical it was at that time, and how and why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing right now as a result of that prayer.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's huge.
yeah, it is.
So as we talk about journaling and arriving and everything that's behind the curtain that we need to be waiting on and be patient about.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
brings me to the thought of being intentional. Of course, the T is called the intentional living, high T,
Mm-hmm.
and virtual T. So I definitely want to touch on the topic of intentionality,
Sure.
um, and how that plays a part in how and when and where we arrive. And I think that intentional living has become so cliche that
Mhm.
it's just thrown about, right? And not really understanding what that truly means.
Mhm.
And then also understanding that having intention really is just having a plan, having a thought, right? It's not the action. So
Right.
so how would you share your experience with intentionality in your life and arriving at where you are?
No, great. I love that question because I can talk a little bit about the book that I wrote a couple years ago.
Okay.
So I'll pay you later for that, a little section. Uh, no, so I agree with you that I think that that word intentionality, intentional living has definitely become sort of faddish, but I think it still is necessary to say.
Yeah.
Uh, so for me, a couple years ago, I was experiencing, just long story short, experiencing a lot of trauma with respect to giving birth to my child. I was working full time, started a not-for-profit, working with girls, and a group of women started a not-for-profit, working with girls in Chicago public schools. But I was also working with girls who were incarcerated. And my husband and I, we started to have a family. So just a lot of stuff was going on. And so I ended up having my son early at 28 weeks. He came out breathing on his own, perfectly fine. But I had a major tumor that was growing on the inside of me. It was a fibroid. It was like about, it came like 3 pounds. So the baby was growing on top of the fibroid, and it was some foolishness. And so it was a lot of pain. And so I ended up having an emergency C-section to remove the baby because they were concerned about me because I was basically bleeding to death. But they had to keep the fibroid in there. So I always talk about how there's always a burden in your blessing and a blessing in your burden, like always,
Mm,
always. Because when they took the baby out, they couldn't take the tumor out. They had to leave the burden there. So ultimately, I know, right? And so sometimes you're walking with a burden that's built for purpose. So
mm,
a couple of months later, I ended up. They said, "Hey, we're going to have to, you take your kidney because your kidneys are going to start failing because it's fire." I'm like, "Wait a minute, now what now?" But they ended up taking the tumor out, basically via C-section. So I gave birth to this tumor. I ended up having, 3 blood transfusions. So I was bleeding. It was just a mess, right? And so thank God I'm still here, Lord. I obviously got a plan. So, but anyway, as I was going through all that, I was in school too. I had just gotten in school. I was in divinity school, and I had tried 3 times or 2 times to get into school, and I was like, I can't give up now, even though I got this trauma going on. I didn't want to give up, so I kept going to school, taking classes, and my baby was in the NICU, and so anyway, I say all that to say, a couple months later, my husband said, "You know what? You need a whole break. Like you need to pull yourself together.
mm.
Just take some time,
He
And
had
so
to
I was
tell
like,
you so.
yeah, right. And meanwhile, to your point about being intentional, I'm being intentional about all these gifts that God has given me and trying to do all that He's called me to do. But it was a lot, and so I began to ask God, like, what? Like, how am I supposed to do all this? And so my husband came to me and he said, "Babe, you know what? I got a hotel room for you, Intercontinental downtown Chicago. Never forget." He's like, "You got spa stuff, you go swimming, whatever you want to do. Just I got the kids. You go relax." And so I get to this hotel room and I wrote a book in 13 hours. And the book is called How Stops Now. So if you see on my like little social media stuff, you'll see motivational speaker, How Stops Now.
Okay.
And I literally, when I went to the hotel room, I had all these emotions. That's why I talk about journaling too, because it could turn into a book, right? So
I was
all these
going to say that
emotions,
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, like all these emotions, all these things I had experienced just flowed out of me. I mean, I just wrote, type. And God gave me the word How Stops Now. And I'm like, because I kept asking how I'm supposed to do all this. I all these visions and dreams and not for profit and working in corporate and all these things, married, kids. And And God kept saying, how stops now. Like, and I'm like, wow, what does that mean? So as I began to write, he gave me this process about being intentional about your dreams and your visions. And there are 4 very specific things that I talk about in the book. And it's really like a journaling book, actually, now that I think about it, because I give you spaces to write about how to do these things. But there's 4 key things: what, where, when, and who. What do I need to do? Where do I do this? When do I do this? And who do I call to help me to get it done?
Mm.
And as you begin to answer those 4 questions, you automatically begin to answer your how question in the affirmative. So whatever dream God gives you or vision, you have to go through an intentional process to answer the question of how. And so it's baked in these sort of spiritual principles around unscrambling the word how. And when you unscramble the word how, you get the word who. Ephesians 3 and 20. He who is able to do more than you can think or imagine. Like, that's why your how stops now. And so I've tried to live my life with intentionality. Everything that I do, whether it's my family, my kids, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, I fail all the time, but as I begin to move towards these things that I feel like God has called me to do, I'm always asking how. And then I go back to this fundamental purpose of understanding that God has given me this for something. And sometimes, here's the catch. Sometimes the vision that God has given you may not be for you to plant that seed, but rather to plant it in somebody else. And so
Mm.
that's also being intentional. We want to, it's mine. Take credit for everything. So as far as being intentional, a lot of times as women and men, I think what we fail to realize about that intentionality is that there's a choice you have to make. And I talk about this a lot, between being a lawnmower and a trailblazer. And I think I may have mentioned this at this conference, but I'll
You
just say it
did.
again.
You did.
That, a lawnmower aesthetically makes things really nice and pretty. A lot of times that's what we want. We want it to look nice and pretty. No substance, but it's nice and pretty. And a lawnmower goes up the grass, right? Just makes it real nice. People come by your grass, oh, it's beautiful out here, but have no idea what's at the root and what may be killing the grass underneath it, right? Then you have the trailblazer, and the trailblazer comes through here and blows up everything. I mean, just the whole new path. Nothing looks the same. And what's interesting about a trailblazer is that the trailblazer is least likely to take the trail that they have blazed. And so being intentional comes with the burden of recognizing you may not be the one to take the trail that you blazed. And
Wow.
so we talk about intentional living. You got to understand really what that means, and encompassing the goals and visions for your life. That intentionality has a lot of layers to it. And that sometimes the intention that you have for what you think God has given you is truly for the people that either coming behind you or the seeds that you're planting for other people to see the blossoms of.
Mm. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So your intentionality is not always meant for you and you alone.
Yeah.
That's definitely key.
You
That's
know?
awesome.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gents who are tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you give us heart love, thumbs up, say hello, let us know you're out there. One thing that I did fail to mention before we jumped into all the goodiness of this topic was that I did say I had a giveaway, and I just reminded myself of that as we were chatting.
Oh,
So, if you are still listening in, what I want you to do is type in the 4 pillars that we talked about earlier that Jamila
that's
mentioned.
what I mean. I'm like, look, I'm
She
surprised too.
right, look. So if whoever's first, and it may be on, we shared this out. So if it's on either my personal page or my business page, whoever I see as far as the timing of you entering in those 4 pillars that we talked about, that person will be the winner, and I will inbox you whatever the prize is. You never know; it may be a ticket to the event because we did have some of those donated. So, with that being said, we have a couple more minutes that I want to hold you for, Jamila. I won't hold you too long because we don't want to give them all the tea.
Okay.
Virtually. They need
Yeah.
to come on June 1st to get
Right.
everything.
Right.
So,
Right.
but we talked about arrival, we talked about intentionality, we talked about the 4 pillars that I won't mention because whoever is listening who wants to win something, I see somebody already posted it, but I have to make sure I have to make sure that that was first because I'm looking at on this app here. So, what I want to close out with is really talking about how we've talked about the arrival, we talked about the curtain and not paying attention or consuming yourself with what's behind the curtain, and being intentional. But what do we say to the person that feels like either they have not yet arrived, or they feel like I've done everything I need to do, child, I've already arrived, I'm where I need to be, even though there's more life to live, more things to accomplish and explore? So how would we empower and encourage and inspire those individuals to know that it's not just always one arrival, right?
Yeah.
Where point A, you may want to go to point B, and then you have C, D, E, and the rest of the alphabet to go through.
Yeah. I guess I would simply say that you keep living, just keep living, and honoring the space and the time that you have, because I think that God plants a lot of things in us, and we are to water those things as well. And we're not to stop watering while we're still here, because we won't be here forever. And so you might as well maximize your time here. So some of us who may have feel like we have arrived, sometimes you arrive and the door closes or it doesn't open. So the question is, what happens then? Do you just stand there at that door, you keep knocking, or do you turn around and try to get on the plane and go to another destination? And I think that decision's up to you, but keep living, and keep accomplishing. And I think everybody's arrival, or when they have arrived, looks different. And my prayer, for all of us, is that when we have arrived, that humility arrives before we do. Because I think sometimes arriving is synonymous with you made it, and then we forget somehow that we didn't get there on our own, and that there are people still watching us and needing us, And so that's my prayer, that as we seek to be arrived, or as we seek to arrive to those destinations, or if we are already there, those women who are seasoned, and not necessarily by age, but seasoned in their gifting, and they know what their gifting is, that humility is at the front door. So when that person, sometimes when you arrive, it's the person. Let me say this. A lot of times I think that the arrival is for us, but what we fail to realize is that when we open up that door, there's a whole group of people waiting on us. And that's why you must open the door with humility, because people are seeking your gift. They're seeking to be watered. They're seeking to plant seeds. And so don't miss an opportunity to blossom, or to help another person blossom, or to receive a seed, because you're not humble. So open the door. Once you arrive, open it up with humility.
I like how everything that you've shared is in true alignment with your bio and the things that you've done in the community and the things that you've done in your career, education, and everything. I just love how that flows, because when you were talking just now, it made me think, I was like, it sounds like something that I heard similar in her bio. And it was the section where you talked about encouraging, educating, inspiring, and empowering young women to strive for excellence in all areas of their lives. And you truly just outlined that, right? But more so than that, you took it a step further, and a lot of the trend and what you've mentioned is community. And it kind of drives us to remind ourselves that this arrival, this life, this intention is not just about you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. It's not. And if it is, I would beg the question, have you really arrived?
Oh, girl, you know what? We're going to have to shut this down.
Okay.
Because I think you're about to go there. And that's a good one.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
I'm just saying, we're gonna have to end it at, have you really arrived? If you saw the intentional living high tea, and you saw the theme of arrival, and you may have even seen my video a few weeks back when I said you may see the theme of arrival, and you'll say to yourself, girl, I already arrived. Or maybe you're saying I haven't yet arrived.
Right.
But Jamila just said, I'm just saying, she just said, if that's what you think, then you ain't arrived. So that's her answer. If you're wondering, have you arrived? And if you're wondering if you need to arrive, I think you just got your answer on that one. But there's more to come on June 1st because I'm just saying you need more than what we shared with you today to get you to your point of arrival or to get you to your next destination. It may not be your first arrival, but it may be that next destination that you need, the community that we just talked about to help you get to that place, right? You may just need a hug, a smile, a inspirational, quote or a prayer or whatever that thing is. You just have to be in the right place. Oh my gosh, my husband is something else.
Hey husband. Hey husband.
He either watching or listening to me because he's
I love it. That's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. But I'll just say this before we shut down. I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Dorsey, for having a heart for people and giving people the platform to share, what God has given them or not. Because not everybody believes in God, but I do believe that we all have given a platform. And the question is, how are you using your platform? So I'll say to you, thank you for using your platform to pour into people, to women and to men, with all the things that you're doing. And just know that you have watered a lot of seeds and a lot of blossoms with your name on it. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I love your genuine heart, your loving spirit. I guess, guys, I didn't tell you I met Jamila
I know, right?
at the conference. I guess that was March, right?
Was it March?
I think it was March. Yeah, time is flying.
I'm confused.
May.
Okay.
But if you tuned in, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Amira, who was also one of my virtual speakers this month. She is the founder of WSI, and that's the event that I met Jamila at, and we were both on a panel together. And I'm just saying, you think these were nuggets she was dropping today? When I'm just saying, I was up there like, wait a minute, I want to go in the audience so I can just, listen to what she got to say.
I'm the same way about you. I'm the same way about you. I'm like, you know what? Everybody shut the room down, okay?
And I was like, I gotta get to her. So I'm just thankful that you said yes. And
I'm like, I support. One thing I will do as much as I can, and I'm not perfect at it again, but I try to support women. Like, we are. I'll never forget. I got a chance to meet Madeline Albright, and she's the woman that said the quote, "There's a special place in hell for women who don't help women." And I believe that. Yeah. I believe that. We are nurturers by nature, and the least we can do is support each other. The least we can do. And even those sisters who may not be able to receive or understand the language of support, it's still our duty to at least be intentional about how our response is. And that doesn't mean you got to be in everybody's face. I'm just saying, like, your walk, your life should speak to something about how you pour into the lives of other women, period.
Absolutely. So I love that. Definitely got to share that one out. So, ladies and gents, again, it has been a plum pleasing pleasure, in the words of Les Brown, for you all tuning in. I hope you got a little bit of tea, not enough that you full or your cup is full, because I expect to see you at the tea on June 1st, which is, again, just around the corner. We have some great things lined up. You know what? I won't even say much about what it is, because if you've come in the past, you would definitely be back. And if you haven't, you should definitely mark your calendars to make sure that you are there this year. It will be at the Westin Galleria, Dallas. So come one, come all. I'm just saying, grab your seat for yourself and a friend. With that, I do want to mention also that if you just tuned in, we had an opportunity to win, and you had to name or list in the comments the 4 pillars that Jamila mentioned earlier today that are keys to an arrival in your life with your family. These are priority things that we talked about, right? These are the pillars that you should follow to ensure that your arrival is, where you should be as you lead to and think about those things that you would consider if you were about to pass. Like, we want to think about those things now while we have the time to implement them in our life and for our family and loved ones. So anyway, With that, I am Dr. Jatan Dorsey. Jamila, one thing I think that we forgot was for you to mention how they can contact you or connect with you, so you can share that.
Sure. I guess I'm all on social media. So Jamila Thomas. I'm not sure. I think my Twitter is Jamila C Thomas. Instagram. I be Instagramming every now and then, pictures and everything. But Facebook, I'm on Facebook, and my website is being updated, but it is JamilaThomas.com.
Awesome. So make sure you check her out. Again, she will be at the tea as well, along with the other ladies who have been a part of this live virtual tea this month. We have one more next week with Dr. Janae Dyson. So I'm looking forward to interviewing her as well. And that's going to close us out just as we stroll and scroll right into June 1st, Saturday coming up. So again, thank you, Jamila, for your time today. I look forward to seeing you on June 1st as well. And if you have nothing else, unless you have something you want to close us out with.
How stops now?
oh, yeah, we got to drop that one. We got to drop that one. How stops now. So you can learn more about that if you didn't catch it, catch the replay. And if you're watching the replay, make sure you hashtag replay. Again, I will drop the link in the comments for you to grab your tickets. With that being said, you all have an awesome rest of your evening, and thanks for joining. Bye for now.